Live from the Acme Detective Agency, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Well, hello, folks.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, this is Tim, and
This is Nick.
there we are.
And we're back.
We are back. Yeah, I'll tell you what. It's been a long time since I've been here in the Acme Detective Agency.
Yeah, I used to visit quite a lot, but not recently.
Oh man, there was this one time I came so close to catching their number one enemy, and she just managed to get away from me.
She's good at that.
She is good at that. I mean, the chief. I don't remember which chief it was at the time because they've had several here.
Yeah.
But he wasn't too happy. But
No.
you know, I'll get her next time. But it's cool to be at the Acme Detective Agency. They have a lot of neat equipment.
It's fun to come to an interesting, exciting, non-threatening,
Yeah.
non-toxic place.
So a place where things are happening and
aren't sinking to swamps.
yes, that was. Oh boy, I'm still.
That was rough.
I've still got mosquito bites from all that. But no, this is a much nicer place. They got good music.
Yeah.
They got some great pun names. We should do pun times.
We should do fun times.
Here. But meanwhile, we're actually here to get some stuff done because this is an educational place.
It is. Yes, and we're here to educate y'all.
That's right. Educate all y'all.
All y'all.
So let's go into story school. For story school today, Nick, this was your idea.
Yeah, I thought we would tackle traveling and journeys in the stories.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
We'll get along our way.
This could be a strange trip.
It should be, yes.
That's something, is it? I know I made a reference to something. Strange trip.
Sure. It's a long, winding road. I don't know. That's a different thing.
I can't think of what I'm thinking of. Anyway.
Have a great trip. See you next fall.
But
Classic parent pun right there.
and your kids probably go, Daddy.
Well, I remember my mom saying it to me. I haven't said it to them much.
Oh, okay.
Like take a chill pill sort of stuff.
Getting back to business.
Yes. Let's get going here.
Getting the train back on the tracks.
Yes.
Which is what we don't do on this.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a travel.
It's a travel log.
metaphor.
So we're going to talk travel logs today. No.
What's the big deal? How often do we see travel in stories?
Quite a lot, actually. Most stories you can think of have at least a little travel. People usually don't stay in one room unless it's a Hitchcock film. You have your basic the plane takes off and we end up in New York sort of stuff. But we won't talk much about the sort of perfunctory travel.
Basic travel as a plot. Well,
you just have to do it. It's the laws of physics require that in order to talk to this person, we go somewhere.
In TV shows, I've noticed they sometimes spend a long time going to talk to someone and they could just call them up on the phone.
Yes. His phone is not as exciting.
Yes.
Maybe that's a whole nother story school.
Possibly.
The dangers, the complications of the cell phone in the modern dramatic arts.
Yes, that's true.
Especially mysteries. But anyways, we do want to talk about, when, for instance, in a lot of books, movies, the destination, the framing device of the whole story is going somewhere. Wizard of Oz. Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
Get to the Emerald City. I mean, that's the entire setup. It's when we were talking about this before, I called it almost a MacGuffin. That's where you need to go. Gives you the excuse for everything you want to happen.
Yeah.
All the encounters you want to.
It's like the structure for it.
Yeah.
Or a framework.
There's road trip movies are like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going over here. Oh, what is? I thought The Wizard.
You mean The Wiz?
No, The Wizard, the Nintendo movie when he had to go out to the California.
Of all the road trip movies, why'd you think of that one?
It was infamous. Come on, the Power Glove's so cool, man.
No. If I think road trip movies, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Muppet movie.
Oh,
of
yes,
course.
The Muppet movie. Yes, exactly.
You go on across the trip, you start out with just by yourself, then you meet a person, then you meet some more people, and then you meet more, and by the time you get to where you're going, the audition is not just for frogs, but for
everything.
Everything.
The great thing about the journey in those sorts of movies, we could come up with a lot more. I mean, Lord of the Rings. We just read the Book of Three for a book club. It's like, we need to get to this castle.
So, and we'll get lots of detours along the way.
Yeah. But it's largely, it says, it gives a goal, a movement, for the story, and then you just put all your events in between. But then there's always a direction. It's nice for the reader, it's nice for the writer that you know where you're going.
Yeah, because you want a story to have forward momentum. So sometimes it's nice to do that literally.
Yeah, I mean, My Girl Called Snort, I was writing it originally just like paragraph by paragraph or chapter by chapter. And so I'm like, she's going to the mountains. And then that becomes my goal. And I do all kinds of insane things between there and here.
To waylay her and find new things to explore.
The entire subtitle of The Hobbit is There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Holiday. I mean,
that's true.
That's Tolkien's sort of setup, especially in The Hobbit. But even Lord of the Rings, you got Rivendell and then Mordor.
Yeah.
Largely.
Yeah.
For Frodo.
Well, a lot of the little checkpoints along the way, too.
Video games do this a lot.
It's a little bit more abstract in a way because you're going from level to level, and essentially.
Well, I was thinking, isn't most of Final Fantasy X basically we just got to visit all the shrines?
Yeah, that's true. No, Final Fantasy X is actually pretty linear in that sense, and they've got a great device for it. It's called a pilgrimage, and so the whole point is you have to go to these things in this order until you get to the end and realize, oh wait, no, this is what we want to do at all, and you come up with something new to do. I mean, they weren't expecting to come to that conclusion, but that's what happens.
So in these sorts of stories,
spoiler alert,
the destination is the goal.
Yes.
That's the point of the story is that when we get there, something's going to happen. No, you can change it up and say, we're trying to get there, and then it breaks apart, and surprise, we're never going to get there. Or whatever. I
guess, well, this may overlap with your next category, but what about stories that are purposely about going to, maybe the whole point of the whole movie isn't a long journey, but it's a visit to a specific place.
Like, give me an example.
Like a vacation sort of movie.
Okay.
This may sound strange, but one thing I was thinking of was there's I don't know if it was made for TV or what, but a Charlie Brown movie called Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, where he goes to France. I just remember it from the kids' perspective because I think we had to record it off of TV, and you get to see the travel. That's part of it. He goes from the United States to Britain, and Snoopy stops off at Wimbledon for whatever reason to be Snoopy. But then you go to France, and then they have it was just interesting to hear French kids and all that kind of stuff.
I guess I hadn't thought about this yet, but then we've been talking about journey, but in some ways travel you're taking your character and moving him somewhere he's
unusual.
It's the whole fish out of water. There's a lot of it's almost a subcategory or a different sort of way of using travel, but travel as exposure to different
environment.
Culture. That's the whole step between, a lot of comedies. We're like, oh, we're going to take this, Night in King Arthur's, or Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
Well, and I guess Bob Hope and Bing Crosby got a lot of road out of this sort of concept.
And so, I feel like there's some of those National Lampoon sort of things, road trip or summer vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But, it seems like there's romantic comedies that do this.
Do you think The Tourist qualifies? I mean, that's all set in Venice. There's travel at the very beginning, but you don't really know the characters beforehand necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, the idea of travel opens up to, anytime you're moving around.
Right.
Most things you move around some, but I do think there's probably a special sort of flavor to stories where you move into an exotic location.
Yeah.
Now, even for us, like tourists, and it's been forever since I've seen that, it's so exotic to us, to the American audience.
Yeah.
And there's still something... that's half of the appeal of, your Mission Impossibles and James Bonds, is that they're visiting places we don't visit. Especially in the visual medium, sometimes almost meta, the visiting places is for the audience. It's like,
yeah, I can see that. I guess it fits in really well with, say, adventure stories too. Like even Treasure Island, there's a little bit of aspect that you're going to some mysterious island. You don't know what you're going to find there.
And I guess, that's the appeal of travel in stories, is that it's new and exciting. It's adventure. Mm-hmm. That we've never been there, the characters have never been there, and it's all new. And as much as the let's get there is forward momentum, there's so much story momentum in it's a new place.
Yeah, just
it's
being
an exciting
there.
place. Yeah.
We were talking before we started recording. Jules Verne's books are all about this sort of thing.
Yeah, Jules Verne. Yeah, I mean, Around the World in 80 Days, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Journey to the Moon, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
It's like, let's go to these really unique places that, at the time especially, was completely exotic to his readers.
So I'm going to use that to transfer into another kind of just move it a little forward. No pun intended. Is that journey can sometimes also, the old brick road, getting there's the point. Mm-hmm. But like Jules Verne, the trip is the point.
Yeah.
And I think there's some stories where the beauty of the trip, the experience of the trip, I'm one of these people, a lot of times when I write, I don't want to have to describe all the landscapes and like that's not my strength. You read Tolkien and you can tell this is a fully realized world.
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of travel that's not just, we got to get to Mordor, but the journey is the destination.
So in that case, it's similar to the coolness of being at a new place, but this one's about the process of getting there as much as actually arriving.
And sometimes that is the whole. Jules Verne, that's lie of the point. Mm-hmm. I always want to write a story about like some person, Lewis and Clark sort of, explorer sort of story. That's a lot of Luce L'Amour, like his Sackets, where they're moving out west early, and
I can see that.
And not all the stories, but I mean, I read the first couple, and like he moves on to America and into the mountains and stuff.
Now, granted, there is some overlap with these. With these things.
These are art, like most English literature things. They're all artificial separations.
Yeah, because even Wizard of Oz, yes, it's about the point A, get from point A to point B, but she encounters interesting things along the way.
Well, I think you're always going to encounter interesting things, but in my very invisible Englishy separation, it's more, is it just an excuse for encounters, or is the actual landscape and and the land itself important?
I see where you're drawing a distinction.
It's made up a distinction,
but that is a good point. It's less. Oh, let's go to this space and have a new thing, and go to this space. But it's it's something about the seeing the landscape pass by that has an effect on you, if you're driving. Or, and again, that's a very visual sort of metaphor.
And it works really well in visuals. But and then some people like Jules Verne, the understanding of where you're going, of the land that's it's like, is the description important or not?
Yeah.
Kind of separation.
And I guess it does help, like, say, Around the World in 80 Days, where I don't know. It's a kind of a paradox with that one, because Phineas Fogg is all about getting to his destination. He doesn't care about sightseeing along the way, but you still have this feeling of travel as you go through the book, and so it's still distinctive in that way. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we came with this topic. I'm like, talk about journey traveling, except it's everywhere, and we a lot. I think story creators use it naturally. They just know that there's something exciting. You want plot movement, and so character movement works great. I mean, it seems like the Scorched Trials movie, like they're just trying to get somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of movies where that's just kind of the background. Mm-hmm. We gotta get here, we gotta get there, or sometimes we gotta get out.
The more I'm thinking about this, though, in some ways, the Around the World in 80 Days mode of the travel being kind of part of the process, as opposed to just an excuse to have things happen along the way, I don't think it's actually done as often as the other thing.
I really don't. We don't take that sort of joy in. I mean, because back then it was all new. I mean, most people we don't do the travel as plot, as the reason for the plot. At least I've not read much of it. I mean, Tolkien, you get some of it in the long stretches, but normally it's subservient to other things.
I guess it really does depend on how well you integrate the ideas of we're going through this strange new land and encountering strange new things, and it's about the journey as opposed to just individual episodes.
Yeah, I do think there's some, from my memory of some of the old school, like the classic science fiction I used to read, sometimes when you go to, there's some where you go to New World and it'd be a lot about exploring the new world. I think Arthur C. Clarke, I bring up sometimes, would be more that style, where it's more about the mechanics and can this work, and as opposed to, and for Jules Verne like that. I mean, he was a science fiction writer. In some ways, almost more concerned with the physical universe as opposed to the characters inhabiting it.
There's some of that in even Out of the Silent Planet, I'd say.
I think Out of the Silent Planet would be a good example of that, because there's a lot of just here's the land.
Yeah, and it's a strange. Like I was surprised when I first read it because it was like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to from Narnia at all.
You know, it's interesting talking about Narnia. Like Voyage Dawn Treader does kind of both. A lot of it's like, oh, we gotta get here, and we're gonna find these princes. You know, very video game sort of. But near the end, it has more of that travel as the point. You know, as you get closer to the edge of the world, and I mean, it's only a chapter or two, but it slips into that more.
It adds a lot of details that you wouldn't necessarily have to if you were just about the objectives of the characters. There's lots of throwaway little bits of beauty about the world and over there.
And I do feel like sometimes, a lot of times, the travel as the point is often related to beauty of some sort, in the sense that you want to revel in
this new
thing.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, in a weird way, some of Book of Strange New Things was like this.
You know, I was thinking about that when we were talking about science fiction. Yeah. There's definitely some of. I mean, he's asleep in cryostasis for like the
actual travel.
The actual travel, but the exploring the planet. There's a lot of sort of experiential sort of exploring his environment kind of stuff.
And half that book works because it's just like you're immersed in this weird place and you can't get a handle on it.
Yeah.
My sister's reading that right now.
Oh, really? How did you counter into that?
Well, I guess apparently ages ago she told me I should read it, and I didn't listen. And then I got like the World Magazine said read it, and I did, and now now she's reading it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
She says, "Yeah, it's very strange." I'm like, "Yes."
That's cool.
Before going any farther, I just don't forget. Then there's at least one other type of journey, which is probably used even less than the other ones, which is journey as metaphor. So we got Pilgrim's Progress. I'm going to the celestial city. Yes, that and
that's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing. It's all allegory in that case.
Yeah.
There's a video game that you showed me called Journey.
Yes,
which is I've not played the whole thing, but I played important sections of it.
You found the way you started it, and then you got to the area. Since I had played it before, there's an area once you beat it the first time, you basically skip forward, and you skipped like the entire like middle chunk of the game.
Yeah,
so
which gave me the cool ending.
Yeah, you got to see the. I mean, you still got the vibe.
I got
they
the vibe
going
pretty
for.
Yeah.
But
that video game is very immersive, very much about the act of traveling.
Yeah,
and
it's very abstract. I mean, that's the entire point. Is just you're going from one place to another.
Certainly very metaphorical in its sense of
what is
enlightenment, spirituality sort of thing.
Yeah.
And again, in religious books, the Bible, we're pilgrims in a strange land. There's a lot of that. And it shows up in books sometimes, in movies, but not in specialized sort of stuff. Generally.
Usually mixed in with other stuff.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, this just occurred to me, in a strange way, Gravity had some of that. I don't know, just the whole fact of her trying to get back down to Earth, and then by the time she arrives, you have this feeling of she has arrived. She made it, and it's
that end of that movie. You just suddenly feel like, oh, I'm grounded finally.
Yeah,
and that's at least I think that was a good example of it. It had another element of.
I mean, travel is not the overall point. I mean, a lot of it's just survival. But that feeling of having arrived at the very end is pretty keen.
Yeah. Again, you move from one location to another location. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and like I said, these things all can overlap in really interesting ways.
And I just have to mention it too. It's a very old technique. I mean, the Odyssey basically that's the entire framing of the Odyssey. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you do these journeys, even if it's just the point A to point B sort of thing, it's still largely also time for the character growth. I started here. When I arrive at my goal, I'm a different person. Huckleberry Finn.
No, there we go.
It basically get to free area, and then who he is at the beginning and who he is at the end. And I think that's a very important lesson for writers, is that normally if the journey is going to be the main thing, many times the character should seem different at the end. Otherwise, you're not. Why do we bother with the journey framework?
That's a good point. Well, I mean, it's called the Joseph Campbell's thing is called The Hero's Journey.
Yeah,
and it's all about a quest of sorts.
Well, that's the fantasy trophy. You always start in your hometown and you leave. I mean, the very act of leaving your familiar setting should say something about the character. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that he's like, and my goal is Mordor. Because like you said, there's that more explicit travel, and then there's a lot of the little pieces that make up any book.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting though. We didn't even get, but geological location has a lot to do with character. Just where am I versus where I've been,
or where you're from, or you can go very literal with that. If you're going up a mountain, uphill trudging, or if you're the whole going through a swamp, you're in a very kind of mired situation.
Or even like they'll use it as a shortcut sometimes for it's been a vital change. Like we were talking about person of interest before we started, but they're usually in his library office, and then by one of the last seasons, they're out of there and they're in this subway. The change of location is like, man, the whole game's changed.
Yeah.
Just from changing the home base.
That's a good point.
And we were really meant to talk about just physical location, but it's part and parcel of the travel.
Right. Yeah. It's still a movement from one place to another that reflects what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other examples kind of like that. I was thinking, we've been talking a lot about Lord of the Rings. I think it helps with the, because there's certain sections when you're, especially if characters are walking the entire way, where it can kind of, things can sort of drag.
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty clever that Frodo and Sam, instead of going straight into Mordor, they wind up having to take a detour around the outskirts a little bit. And I think what that does is sort of break up the bad landscape in a sense, because when Frodo and Sam first step out on their own, they have the dead marshes and they have all the rocky area and just not very nice countryside. And, eventually you're going to get into Mordor. And of course, none of that's very nice either. But they wind up having to take a detour to go through Ithilien, which gives them an opportunity to kind of reacquaint themselves. Well, not reacquaint, but you get a nice break for the monotony of the in between the other two sections.
And that reminds me too that how Jules Verne, the point is the travel. In Lord of the Rings, part of the point of the travel too is history. I mean, you get so much. You're saying, I forget what's the name of that city you just mentioned.
Well, I guess they don't actually go to Ithilien. I was thinking that's the name. Wait, is Ithilien the name of that area, or is that the name of that city that gets abandoned?
It's Minas something. It's not Tirith, but there's another one on the other side.
Yeah,
that dark tower that they can't go anymore.
Well, not even that. Well, let's see. It's been a while now. I mean, I'm not talking because in the movie Faramir is dumb and takes them to that city thing. I'm not talking about that. Then in the book they never got that far. But there was still a land that was still kind of run by Gondor, and that's where they encounter Faramir in the book. And there's that one part where there's that statue that's been all torn up by orcs and stuff, but then the head is on the ground, but it's got a crown of flowers around it.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam's like, look, there's still, no matter what they do, there's still beauty in the world that they can't conquer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always thought that was kind of a key moment for them in their journey. Just kind of, they needed as much reminders of the good of the world before they went to the very worst of it.
Yeah, but the travel, the slogging through Mordor is pretty. I mean, it's only like 2 or 3 chapters, but it's
I know when I went and reread it the second time, I was like, man, I remember this being a lot longer before.
In memory, it takes up a lot of space because it's just so vividly Mordor.
Yeah. So vividly oppressive and kind of depressing.
Yeah.
It absolutely serves a purpose in the book, but it's still, you feel the characters' struggles through that, which is exactly what you want to do for characters who are going through a travel.
Well, exactly. I think that's a good lesson for writers too, is that, the travel, even if it's the point, it should express something. It shouldn't just be like, and things are pretty just because. It should have some sort of takeaway, I guess. I hate to say takeaway, but some sort of reason story-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why so often we want to skip it because we're like, there's no reason. I'm just bored with, I don't know what a moor is.
Yeah. I mean,
we're not British.
We may be a little guilty of kind of the skipping some of that stuff ourselves in like Children of the Wells.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this big area. I mean, and this is partly our world designing thing, but we have this big area in between Therion and anywhere else, which is just kind of a way of keeping Therion under control. In our world making. But when, like in my book, New World is Rising, so we had to cross this great wilderness, and we purposely said there's nothing out here.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what am I going to do this whole section where they have to get across, but there's, very little out here. So I did, skip ahead. I did highlights, camping on the, out in the wilderness, or hit the important things, obviously, but there was definitely some time skip.
Well, I think it's almost always better to skip it if there's no reason to do it.
Yeah. You don't need to burden it if it's not going to be the actual point.
You don't need to be like, well, it's a long time, so I'll
have to make it work.
I'll make it feel long. No, if it's just... No one cares. I mean, if you don't care, no one else does.
Yeah. And that wasn't really the point of that book.
Yeah.
The point of that book was to gather new people to work with.
Now, the point of, say, the doctor's assistant climbing over that mountain really was the journey in many ways.
That's true, yeah.
Because it's like, how does Kalia, with her new limbs, deal with it, and moving away out of her comfort zone and then the travel mattered, and Laura drug it out as long as it needed to be.
Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting point. Just because we're talking about the great parts about travel in a story doesn't mean it's necessarily important for a story. Sometimes you do just want to, like you said from the first bit, travel by map.
Yeah, I think we need to know as creators, when do you travel by map and when do you pull something else out of it or elongate it for fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. That was my hard part writing The Remnant of Dreams. I have to get them to the governor's palace. It should take some time. Something should happen. And I have varying success with skipping/not skipping things. That's when first time really struggled with that, I think. That I can't just skip straight there, but a couple of these things need to happen, but how do I,
Yeah. So. Sometimes prioritizing is trickier than you might think.
Yeah.
So what's our takeaway here, Nick?
Our takeaway is see the world, they said. No, I don't know. I think travel, both as a plot device and as the plot, have a lot to offer in adventure, in framing, and as viewers can be very exciting. Go exotic places, see cool things, but the danger always is to linger in places that really aren't that fun.
Yeah,
I think that's more of a danger than not lingering in places that you should. Yeah.
I've complained on here before about Splinter of the Mind's Eye, so I won't dwell on it too long, but I remember that was one thing I did not enjoy about that book. You're basically traveling through swamps for 300 pages, and it just got really oppressive.
Yeah, and if the journey doesn't add a sense of change, a sense of atmosphere,
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, it can be exciting as a trip to Europe.
And there's a lot of the great books have it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
makes me kind of want to go watch something. I mean, I was thinking about this. Man, it has been a long time, and I think even as a kid, you recognize, you feel this sort of sense of the world being big and huge when you see movies where characters travel around the world. Like Puss in Boots.
Yeah, well, that was a cool thing, like Interstellar. It actually was a science fair. I know the science.
I was wondering if you'd heard that.
I had thought about bringing it up.
In case you don't know, Puss in Boots Travels Around the World is this kids movie that Nick has told me for years he's going to show me.
It's wonderful. I really should. I got a VHS of it.
One of your favorite childhood movies, right?
It was one of my favorite. Yes, we ran about that on a different episode. But like Interstellar, a lot of times, but it gave that sense of wonder of space again, which we don't get much from movies. When I was just like, and there's a cool computer-generated planet here, and
yeah,
but it gave that sense of the weird and wild reaches of the wild of space. I just wanted to keep doing the
wild metaphors, or language.
Anyway, yes, but that's all I got. I'm rambling now.
Okay, rambling. That's what you do when you travel, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. All right. So we'll wrap that up and go into our soundtrack. For my soundtrack today, I decided to go with a song from The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. I remember watching my roommates my sophomore year of college playing through some of this. My roommate, Mike Jarvis. Shout out to you, Mike. And if you've never seen it, it's a really unique game in the Zelda pantheon. Is that the right word? Sure. Franchise. We'll just go Zelda
They're
franchise.
all gods, pantheon.
where the whole world is covered by water basically, and you're traveling by boat from one area to another. And
Kinda cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a neat, and sometimes you might stumble across some underwater loot or a hidden water temple or something. But it's a neat journey. So I picked a remix called Pirates of Dragon Roost Isle. This is an older one, like from 2004, so not long after I think they came out.
Nice.
So yeah, very, very fitting. And I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Weekly Hijack. Oh, wait. Wrong podcast. Coming to you from beautiful downtown Oakland, California.
Roman Mars, I don't know if he talks like that all the time.
I know.
Did you listen to this week's? The statue
we're talking about a podcast called 99% Invisible,
which is actually a great podcast. Yeah.
But yes, the one about there's some girl that's lots of statues in New York City were inspired by.
It was a very interesting story.
She was a live model or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very interesting. Kind of sad. Like, I didn't know a Hollywood story like that could come from a statue model.
Yeah, it was sad. It was a sad ending.
But I hope you enjoyed the soundtrack.
Yes, I did.
Nice, fun, adventuresome music for you. Now we are going to go into What If? So for What If today, if you're new to the podcast, What If is always where we try to come up with some crazy scenario, usually related to the story school.
It's been a while since we've done one.
It's been a little while.
A little while. I mean, the costume one, I guess.
Yes, I think that was before Christmas.
Yeah.
So we found that it works well for us if we do some sort of randomization for it. So what we've decided is we're going to send a number of fictional characters on vacation
in various places.
And let them see what their journeys and travels produce.
So I made up a variety of random places.
I came up with some characters.
And we're going to pick each other's.
Yeah, at random here. And see what happens. So, all right, okay. Nick, what's our first? Our first
character is Elizabeth Bennet.
That's from Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Okay.
Is she going before or after she's married?
That is a very good question.
I guess let's see where we're going.
Yeah, let's see where we're going. Elizabeth Bennet is going to Wonderland.
Oh, I think
this is actually strangely fitting.
Yeah, this actually would work decently well.
Yeah, I mean,
I think her and Alice would be good friends.
Yeah, I think so too.
I could see her curiouser and curiouser.
Yes. This strikes me as before being married sort of thing.
So how does she get there?
That is a good question for all these things. Does she fall down a rabbit hole? I feel like she wouldn't be the one to chase after a rabbit. She
might be chasing after one of her sisters.
That's entirely possible.
Down a rabbit hole.
That could be how she
which is the horrible sister that marries marries.
See, I don't know the story nearly as well as my sisters do.
No, it's is it Lydia?
Maybe.
Anyway, and sorry, all you who love Pride and Prejudice for our inability to remember which sister is which. I can see her chasing after her, trying to stop her from marrying, or she already married the horrible person. But yeah, and falling down a rabbit hole or another sort of hole. Or
so the question is, I'm guessing her main point of her journeys would be figuring out a way out of Neverland.
I don't think she would much put up with the nonsense.
No, I don't.
I think. That's the thing. Alice would.
She was the one to explore, to go.
Elizabeth was like, "This is ridiculous." You know, like, she'd meet the queen and be like, "No."
Far too practical for that.
It would be. That would make a great. It'd make a great thing. Just she'd be like the straight man while everything else is insane.
That would be kind of hilarious.
Meeting the Mad Hatter, and
it's like, no. I'm leaving now. Farewell.
I feel it'd be one of those vacations she wouldn't much enjoy, but when she gets back, she'd have a lot of interesting stories to share with people, and she would share them very wittily and scathingly. You know, I think it would be one of those vacations that she would it would have been worth going on.
Yes, it would be.
It might make her actually.
I feel like I would enjoy it better. Like, I'm not a fan of Wonderland, honestly, and I'm not really a fan of zombies things, but I feel like this would work better than Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Just for the dry wits that would come out of it.
That wit with one it'd be fabulous. I think she'd come back and she'd probably feel a little better about British society. Maybe not much better. Maybe it'd be like you're basically the Mad Hatter, but
that's possible.
You could she might just see a whole commentary on the British society based on all this insanity going on with the lobster quadrille and stuff.
Now you said earlier she might make good friends with Alice. Are we going with like little girl Alice, or are we going with like the modern, like Alice has grown up with this weirdness?
I thought she might make friends, but then I think she might think Alice is a little too not silly, but empty-headed. Maybe. Okay. I mean, like Alice puts up with too much. You're like, stop drinking this stuff.
So it sounds, again, more you're going like little exploratory girl Alice, not like Alice from Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Not that one.
Who's been like trained.
Crazy.
Yeah. She's like.
She drunk too much of this stuff.
Laura Croft Alice. Almost.
Yeah. No, I was thinking more like Disney cartoon Alice.
Ditzy Alice. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think it would be a fun adventure.
Fun.
Not at the time, but after the fact.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know if she would change much, but she might have a new appreciation for the absurdities of
and
life.
maybe her sillier sisters.
Oh, yeah, she might come back more disdainful than anything.
So maybe it wouldn't be a good thing.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It depends on how it rubs her, I guess.
Yeah.
So okay, what's our next character?
All right, let's see. So Elizabeth Bennet had a good time in Wonderland, and now we're sending Jack Sparrow, who in Wonderland would work about perfect.
Yeah, but Jack Sparrow is going to Dickens, London, which that's actually not too far off.
That's no.
I'm going to redraw that one because I think the movie actually sort of covered that. So we'll send one of our other fun characters to Dickens, London. Jack Sparrow is going to Gotham City.
Oh, right.
So that's
Well, he wouldn't seem out of the ordinary there.
No, he wouldn't. Not at all. Honestly,
he'd fit right in. Honestly,
he fit in ridiculously well. I think Batman would actually find him kind of charming as assuming he's going to go with his pirating ways. He would be kind of a nice break for Batman. Honestly,
I think Jack Sparrow would really enjoy Gotham. I think there's a lot of
depends on his mood. Sometimes
how dark of a Gotham are we?
Yeah, because otherwise he's gonna be running away and.
I mean, where are we? Like in like Christopher Nolan Gotham,
or are we in like 66 TV Batman?
Yeah, and I think it's more. I think it's
somewhere in between, maybe.
Yeah,
you could like maybe I'd say in between would be like you said like Christopher Nolan Batman.
That's not actually. I could do Christopher Nolan. That's more gritty.
Yeah, it's honestly though not as gritty as certain Batman comics.
Let's go Nolan Gotham just because then we put a not gritty but humorous Jack Sparrow into a pretty noir
kind of setting, and I don't know. He'd be like those quirky characters in like old mystery movies where that or the comic drunk essentially. I mean that's what Jack Sparrow is.
Yeah. So what is he doing on his vacation in Gotham City? I mean he gets a call. He wins a free trip from some travel agency. His name was pulled. He ends up in Gotham. What does he do there? He goes to the bar.
He goes to the bar. That's the first step. I think he tries to indulge in drink and women. I think those are the two main things. I mean, it's tricky because Jack Sparrow, he's a seaman, so he's not actually a huge fan of a giant city. I don't think that'd be the one downside.
That's true. There'd almost be too many
people, too much structure.
I feel like one way or another he's going to get involved in some criminal plot.
Right.
Not proactively, just
I feel
because.
I feel like actually what might happen is he might get swept away with Harley Quinn somewhere. Like if say the Joker is in one of his stays at Arkham Asylum and Harley is on her own for a little bit.
There'd be a whole little like kind of like he think he's trying to woo her and she's insane sort of.
Right. And she probably would have a lot of fun with him.
Oh
honestly.
Yeah.
She want to take him on a couple heists of sorts.
It'd be kind of nice for him to meet the Joker.
Possibly.
Yeah, they would have an interesting. I mean, Jack Sparrow would make a decent minion for the Joker.
In some ways, I could see.
Depends on your Joker.
Yeah, it depends on your Joker. Certain Jokers could. It'd be like whenever the Joker would interact with Lex, those were always kind of an odd couple sort of pairing, and it'd be like kind of similar but different. I don't know.
I feel like if the Riddler's running around, him and Jack Sparrow might.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they're both kind of the kind of savvy.
You can't see us guys, but we're all waving our bodies because they just.
Again, it depends on how Jack Sparrow is played. Because one thing I was disappointed with, when I mentioned in a recent episode, I saw the fifth movie or whatever it is. Later depictions of Jack Sparrow, he's not as savvy as he is, I think, in the first one. Like in the first one, he's actually is a much better strategist and like when trying to conniving. Later ones, he's a little bit too goofy. I think so. It depends on what kind of mood Jack is in.
So I think he might have an okay week, but he'd get in some trouble.
I think he'd be ready to get back to the open
Batman
seas.
Probably throw him in jail for a while. He gets left. He gets to go.
Some ridiculous way to break out of Arkham Asylum because everyone can break out of Arkham Asylum.
Would we put in Arkham? He's not that insane.
Well, okay, yeah, point taken.
So I mean, he's basically a small fish in Gotham.
Yeah, pretty much. I think, like I say, by the time he was done, he'd be like, "I'm not taking a vacation here again, mates." Yeah, he'd be ready to get back in the open seas.
So who do you think likes it better? Their free vacation, Elizabeth or Jack so far?
It's a toss-up.
Okay.
It's a toss-up. They're both over their heads a little bit.
Yeah.
In both places.
I think Jack's
Jack would enjoy it initially at first.
And like less. And Elizabeth is probably like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So let's move on.
We have C-3PO. I like to see him in Gotham.
He's going to the Spirit Bathhouse.
This is from Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. This is fantastic. Once again, C-3PO is very much out of his element.
Oh man, I just want someone like one of those webcomic people to do a couple panels of C-3PO in the bathhouse. It would be.
It'd be almost like Jabba's palace all over again, except not quite as dirty, depending on if
but he would like all these weird creatures coming around, and I guess he's translating for Yubaba or
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's
I mean, he's probably her. You know, she's very quickly sweep him up as
yeah. It would start out as vacation, but it wind up being a job very quickly.
Yeah, he just like he's walking around and he's like, "What's going on?" And yeah, it's a job. He has to. I mean, he basically be running the counter and. Mm-hmm. Counting all the bath tokens to make sure they're all going the right place.
Trying to make sure that different spirits aren't getting into.
No, he can translate. He knows lots of languages.
Right, so. Right. So that might help with, say, keep the Japanese spirits and the North Native American spirits.
But it's very much a working vacation for C-3PO.
Yes.
Of course, what wouldn't be a working vacation for C-3PO?
True. Hopefully, though, at some time he'd get a nice oil bath.
Yeah,
and,
which he might. I mean, he
would really
shiny.
enjoy that. Yeah,
I mean,
that's probably why you tried to go there in the first place. Honestly.
I mean, all things considered, it probably would not be the worst place he's been.
No, that's true.
Better than Cloud City.
Assuming that the patrons don't try to dismantle him for all his gold parts.
I don't think they would. Well, if No Face is there, it might be.
It might not go very well for him.
Yeah,
but overall, I think honestly. He'd be working, but C-3PO likes to be busy. I've always felt like he's not a lazy guy. He likes to be helpful.
And Yubaba, is that her name?
Yubaba?
Yubaba? I mean, she's pretty, down to business. He'd enjoy that more than all these people who run around doing crazy things that he's like...
Yeah. As strange as it sounds, it might actually be the best vacation.
He's had in a while. I mean, it's better than Tatooine. It's better than Cloud City.
Yeah, at least he's probably staying a lot cleaner. Again, depending on whether a stink spirit
and it
shows
makes
up.
sense.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it probably makes more sense than most of the things running around he's been doing.
So, okay, I think that was actually a surprisingly successful vacation.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so what do we got next?
Okay, we have Sawyer. Is this Tom Sawyer or is this Sawyer from Lost?
Sawyer from Lost.
Okay.
And he's in Tokyo 3?
Or Nerve, yep.
Oh, Nerve, okay.
Tokyo 3, yeah, which is Tokyo 3 from Evangelion. So we are okay, this is actually awesome.
This is, I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around this one.
I just feel like if he's hanging around with Shinji and Gendo and all these, I mean, he'd just be like, what are you guys doing?
I feel like he
now, which Sawyer is this?
Confused.
Is this like early Lost Sawyer or like after he's changed and softened up a lot?
I feel like it'd be more interesting the later Sawyer, like because early Sawyer he wind up getting thrown in jail.
Yeah, okay,
like
that's true.
He'd try to sabotage something or con someone.
Well, okay.
The people are going to see
first
right
off,
that.
He's hitting on Masato.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Obviously.
And Masato's loving that.
Yeah. she'd go right for it.
Yeah. He's probably also hitting on Risuko, but what's her name?
Is that one of the other scientists?
Lady?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Probably.
Just because. I mean,
just because he could.
To make Masato.
Yeah. Jealous. Yeah. Essentially. But because
you know what? And the thing is, he's going to take Shinji under his wing. Yes. Because he's basically Walt.
Yeah, probably. He's like, listen, I know your daddy is making you do some weird stuff.
But, I have daddy issues too.
Yeah, but you got this, man. I think you can do it.
Why does this work so well? Okay, not much. Well, it might be good, decent vacation. He's hanging out in the futuristic city. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's better than the island.
It's better than the island.
I mean, granted, he's attacked by giant angels occasionally. But he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like, you guys deal with that. I'll just.
Yeah.
I mean, he cares, but he doesn't care. He cares about Shinji, but he's like, well, who cares?
The question is, what sort of nicknames does he give Shinji? I'm going to say Shrieks.
I'll take that. Yep, Shrieks.
And then Ray, let's see, what will his nickname for Ray be? No Face.
Something's depressing, like, something some gray, depressing, like Miss Sunshine.
Miss Sunshine.
It would be Miss Sunshine.
Okay, there you go. I was like some sort. I was trying to think of some sort of Eeyore type name for her, but
And what Gendo be like? Glasses or
glasses? Yeah, I think so. Asuka would be like a Hell Fury or something like that.
Sparkles.
Oh, Asuka would not like Sawyer at all.
But he would have so much fun doing that. He would peg her. He would just poke her constantly. This might be a really good vacation for him.
Oh yeah, and it's not like Asuka could do anything about it because he's the adult in this sort of situation.
He's just butting up with people, having fun. He hides with everyone else when he'd have some heartache for the kids because he does.
Yeah, he would. But oh, I need to see this. Someone please write some fan fiction of Sawyer hanging out with the Evangelion.
I want to see like some webcomics of all these. All these would be fabulous.
These is fantastic.
Good vacations.
See, this is where fan fiction thrives, and so we're giving you people all kinds of genius ideas here.
So how many more do we got? What do we have time for another?
Oh yeah, we got time. Let's keep going.
Okay. I'm enjoying these. Michael Garibaldi
in Earthsea.
Oh, interesting. So Michael Garibaldi.
Babylon 5.
If not watching or listening to our hijack, is Babylon 5, security chief, a loner, doesn't make friends easily, super suspicious, also sometimes a drunk.
Yes. And he looks like Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
But he's not Bruce Willis.
He's not Bruce Willis.
But yeah.
So Earthsea, well, first off, he would be super like just annoyed with the magic running around everywhere.
That's probably true.
He's like really, he's down to earth.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't feel like he'd be one of the people that would go exploring lots of Earthsea.
No, I don't think so. Now, if you gave him a city, he might hang out there and just talk to, hang out in the taverns, talk to people, exchange stories. He might really enjoy that. He wouldn't move around much.
No, I feel like he'd find a place where he'd fit in on one of the islands, I think. Maybe he'd run like his own like investigative agency, like a PI sort of thing.
Like if he's on, what's the main wizard island? Not that he would much care for wizards, but he might do work for him just fine.
It's possible.
He puts up with lots of
strange things on Babylon 5. That's true.
But yeah, the problem is I'm not sure how well he would vacation in general.
That's true. Yeah, we're not looking for him to settle down here. We want him to vacation.
But does he vacation? Is that a thing Garibaldi does?
That's a fair point. I don't know.
Outside of Looney Tunes.
He loves his Looney Tunes. I don't know. He might, maybe there's that one episode, hasn't come out on Weekly Hijack yet, but there's one episode where he's fixing up a motorcycle.
Oh, that's true. He needs something to do. He's not a beach sort of person.
So maybe, I don't know. I said earlier he's not a traveler. Maybe he wouldn't be a sailor, but maybe he would be interested in going on a road trip of some sorts around one of the bigger islands.
Yeah. Rourke? Is that one of them?
I'm trying to remember what is ironic.
Roke. It's Roke.
Roke, is that the big one?
I think so.
Okay. It was funny. We were saying in the other commercial break, because Earthsea, Wizard of Earthsea, which is the only Earthsea book that I think either one of us have read. They do a lot of exploring around the outskirts of it, but in the whole world is just basically lots of islands.
And the travel is done really well, very atmospheric.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very
especially
atmospheric.
Last couple chapters, just him on an ocean by himself, and it's compelling.
Oh yeah. But it's kind of funny that there's one big island in the middle, and they talk about it, but I don't think they ever go there.
Roke might be the Wizard Island.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure.
That's a biggish one, but not the giant big one.
Not the main one.
But yeah, I don't think he must be for oceans.
Yeah,
but I do think you got a nice island, he could explore some stuff.
Maybe go on a horseback ride across.
I could see him liking that. Yeah. It might be different, but he might enjoy it. I think he's the sort of guy who would like to get in with a crew of people and just talk to. He seems like the sort of person he likes to just hear stories and put his ear to the ground and get the flavor.
I can see that.
So he might go full native in some ways. Like dressed like he wouldn't be a tourist.
Yeah,
he'd go more into the normal parts of.
Yeah, he'd stay away from all the touristy areas.
He'd hang out. Very common person. Mm-hmm. Probably just stay in some guy's home.
Probably
if you can manage it.
Earthsea B&B.
Yeah,
Airbnb.
Exactly. All right, I think he might actually enjoy that decently.
Yeah, that's a very different one. But cool. All right, who we got next?
We have Obed and Violet from the Unremarkable Squire on their honeymoon.
Yes, and they are the ones now who wound up in Dickens' London.
Ah, okay.
So, Nick, these are your characters. So.
Well, and the thing is, Dickens' London probably actually suits them decently well. Be their characters as well. in the Dixonian sense.
That's true. I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Well, and for a honeymoon, it'd be, I'm trying to figure out how that would work.
Yeah. Again, not the ideal honeymoon.
Not the ideal
setting.
honeymoon because it tends to be a little more grungy.
Yeah.
Violet would not put up real well with the grunge. I mean,
Obed would do okay.
She would put up with it, but she just complained constantly.
Yes. About it just wasn't suitable.
Now, in some ways, it's not that different than what they just got done with, which a lot of weirdos hanging around them.
I feel like a better vacation for them would have been Earthsea, actually.
They would have really enjoyed Earthsea, probably.
Yeah.
Get on a boat and drive around.
Yeah, exploring, enjoying the.
So you're in Earth. You have to go to some. You have to stay somewhere. Who they stay with? Which Dixon characters can you stay with?
Oh, we're going back to London?
Yeah. They could say. I mean, like they stayed with Sidney Carton from Tale of Two Cities.
Okay.
He's the lawyer. He's he doesn't care about anything, but I don't even remember. What's the good person that adopts Oliver Twist?
Oh, I don't remember.
I mean, there's enough.
There's some interesting ones. Maybe what about
Ebenezer Post Christmas Carol?
Well, that would be perfect. I was trying to remember David Copperfield.
I don't know that one.
It's been a long time since I read that, and it didn't really stick with me, unfortunately.
You know who they need to stay with? Pickwick.
Okay. I'll take your word.
Very kind of a jolly, eccentric man with a very eccentric servant. It seems like they would get. I think staying with Pickwick, they'd be great. I think he's a bachelor, so
they do well with eccentrics.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Obed just adjusts to whatever.
Yeah.
Violet would complain, but the certain amount of high English society she would enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And exploring the streets could be. I mean, it'd be interesting. They'd encounter. They'd probably encounter some pickpockets, have to deal with them, just like
even
previously.
old. What's the guy from the short story we just read?
Trotty Vec.
Yes, Trotty Vec. Again, Obed would get along well with him. I think.
Yeah, I think Obed would make lots of. He wouldn't personally go to make friends, but people just become his friend.
Be attracted.
Violet
to
would be slightly annoyed because they're trying to have a honeymoon.
And all these people keep showing up.
They just keep showing up. Yeah. If you have no idea what we're talking about, go read The Unremarkable Squire, available on Amazon.
That's right.
But I think they might do decent, actually. As long as they get in with the right crowd to start with.
Yes.
They don't want to hang out with Madame Defarge or someone like that.
No. Yeah. They want to go to the jolly side of London, not the try to.
I think, they get along well. Obed wouldn't be very comfortable there, but you just stay silent, and Violet would do the pleasantries, and they go look around. Yeah.
And people would be, they'd
flock into him. What's his name from? I know Tale of Two Cities is better than the rest of them, but the guy who does all the grave digging would probably come and see him. And yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Who do we got next?
We have Rumpelstiltskin, the Once Upon a Time version.
And he's going inside Riley's head.
Oh, from inside out.
Inside out. That's a strange place for Rumpelstiltskin.
He could make very many deals inside.
I'm not sure I want Rumpelstiltskin inside anyone's head. That seems.
I think this might be really dangerous. He might really enjoy it. I'm not sure Riley would after the fact.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
This is how mental issues happen.
Rumpelstiltskin inside anyone's head just sounds very dangerous.
No, we do have like 10 versions of Rumple. Probably which one.
True.
They're doing like the hardcore dearie version with the gold glitter, or you're talking about like hey, I'm basically reformed.
Yeah.
New last season of one sort of.
Oh man,
we'll have to talk about that after.
I was not expecting him to have an up montage with Belle in the last season of.
It hurts.
Yes, in the most beautiful way. It's like
it's the best way to do a.
I imagine. I think you might have asked me before. I didn't know if it was before the last podcast when we talked about sadness. You might have asked me if I had seen any of the new season.
Oh, maybe.
But it made me think of our last episode.
Yeah,
a lot.
But
anyway, Rumpelstiltskin inside Riley's head.
See, I think Rumpelstiltskin would he would just have fun because I'm talking pre-reform Rumple.
Pre-reform. Okay, so crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who likes to make magical deals, whatever. First off, he gets to root around. He'd be a little annoyed that it's a little girl's head, not someone else's.
Right. Someone more practical or useful for him.
He's going to make deals with anger easy, fear easy. I mean, he knows all their weak. I mean, it's going to cause massive chaos. He'll just enjoy it.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be a great vacation for him, but Riley's going to end up in a mental institute.
Yeah, poor Riley. Oh.
Or as a criminal. And an obsessive liar and other things. I mean, it'd be really, really bad for Riley.
Oh, dear.
How about post-reform?
Post-reform. I feel like he would actually try. He might still try to tweak things, but he would try to. I think he'd try to set her up with. We'll go like I know after Inside Out, where she's first beginning to be interested in boys and stuff. Maybe I feel like he might try to steer her in the right direction. It still might be interesting because I mean it'd be different. We've seen Rumpelstiltskin as a father of a son, but not as of a girl. So I don't know how that plays out.
It's interesting. It's not a very good vacation for post-reform.
Not nearly
because it's he'd be more confronted by all these emotions.
Oh,
which would be a little harder for him.
That's an interesting point. Would being inside someone else's mind, because all we see inside of the mind are basically the emotions themselves.
But he'd still be interacting with, it'd probably remind him of
his own emotions,
of his joy or not joy, his anger, not anger.
Interesting.
And I think it'd be much more of a psychological retreat than a nice relaxing vacation for post-reform Rumple.
Probably. His conscience would get in the way too much.
His conscience, yeah. I mean, it would just bring up conscience stuff for him.
Interesting. Well, we need to wrap this up. So we got
the speed version. For
I think we got one last one here.
Okay, here we go.
So
I have Amy Pond
in the 100-Acre Woods.
Oh,
actually, I think she'd have a really good time.
She'd have a blast.
I feel like she'd spend the most time with Tigger. I feel like the high energy.
Oh man. Yeah, I think that's actually probably the most perfect vacation for any of these people here.
Yeah, that's actually a really.
And
nice
if Rory
vacation
came
spot.
along, he'd probably hang out with. I mean, he'd be Tigger fine, but he'd probably hang out with some of the other people and just he'd be chilly. Yeah,
it'd be pretty relaxing. I'd love to live a vacation 100-acre wood in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, some of our other people would be annoyed with it, but I don't think she.
Yeah, no, I think she'd really enjoy herself.
So okay, well, it's nice to end with a match made in hats.
A match made in hats. There you go.
We drew them from hats. If we didn't mention that before.
So fun. All right. So maybe as for our listener feedback, maybe take one of these locations that we've mentioned and send another character there.
Or write us a flash fiction. Or a fan fiction.
A fan fiction of the one that you like the best.
Or if an artist, we'd love to see a picture of most of these.
Sawyer at Nerve. That one made me laugh the most, I think. That's a great image.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
I can see anime Sawyer too.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, what's his name? Who Masato? But it's kind of Sawyer anyway.
He is very Sawyer-ish.
Yeah, ish. But
ish. You get the roguishness.
The roguishness. Yeah, not some of the other stuff.
Not some of the other baggage.
Okay. Anyways.
So that has been our Derailed Trains of Thoughts. Remember, you can listen to all of our old episodes at derailedtrainsofthought.blogspot.com.
Subscribe to our YouTube, I guess our YouTube. I meant more our iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook. Come to Facebook and join our page. We do flashback episodes every week, just if you've,
Because we do have an extensive archive,
Yeah.
so sometimes if you need a hint on where to even get started, maybe one of our little random episodes.
podcasts of the week.
Yeah,
and they're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, they are all over the place. We've covered a wide range of topics.
Yes.
And also, remember to share to love. We like to get, if you know someone who loves stories of all types, share the podcast. Leave a
You
review.
are our best advertisement.
Yes. Word of mouth really is the best advertisement, I think, for most podcasts.
Yeah.
We would appreciate that.
All right, so my soundtrack, huh?
Yes, it is your soundtrack.
All right, I decided to pick a remix from Shadow of the Colossus.
It's a game I've been meaning to play for a very long time.
A lot of that game is the travel. Basically, there's like 8 bosses and just a lot of exploring the world to find them. So the world is a large part of just your game. Mm-hmm. This is called Wander on the Offensive Live Edit. It is remixed by, okay, here we go, B33J, Serix, Juan Mendrano, and Nonsensical Exits. Anyways, it's quite a great song. So enjoy.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
And now I think we have a
case.
We have a case. We need to get going.
We need to get going. We'll make sure we have enough clues. Do you have your passport up to date?
I think so, yes.
Okay, that's good. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. This is Tim.
This is Nick.
Bye-bye.
Bon voyage.